Hi! Today I'll be teaching you a simple way to color an illustration with Photoshop, kind of like with this illustration. So this video will be for people who are Photoshop beginners. Ideally, you have a mouse or a drawing device like a Wacom tablet, but you can also try to do this with a trackpad as well. So your first step will be to get an image or illustration file that you want to use. So if you already have an illustration of your own, either take a photo or scan it into your computer and you'll have the file ready. Or you can also go into Google and search for simple coloring pages. So I've searched for plants, but you can search for anything you want. And there are a lot of images that are really great that you can use. So I actually quite like this image. You can open it in a new tab, and I'll open up Photoshop. And let's go back to our image file and drag that into Photoshop. Great. Now that you have your image ready in Photoshop, you'll notice that you can't modify the image because it's locked as a layer. So in the Layers panel over here, you can always unlock your layer and see what it looks like when it's invisible or visible. So for now, let's just keep this layer locked. Our next step will be to add a new layer, so you can actually create modifications on a layer that's separate from your outline. To delete layers, you would go back into the Layers panel, right-click, and press Delete Layer. Let's say you have a color palette in mind, so let's create a new layer and double-click the layer and call it Colors. So with this layer, you're now ready to start painting. So you can go over to the toolbar on the left side and go down to the icon that looks like a paintbrush, and that's the brush tool. So you can either click on it or press B. So these brushes will appear up on the top, and you can choose the brushes that you want to use. There are a huge variety, so you can click on one and test it out, see how it feels, if you like it or not, and just stick with it, or you can always change in the future. I like the feel of this brush because it's a little faded and reminds me of watercolors. To undo lines that you just did, press Option-Command-Z, and it'll undo the changes that you just made. Right now, I'm just going to create circles of colors that I want in my illustration. I'm just going into the color panel and experimenting, seeing what color I like. Maybe an orange. Now I'm going to show you a handy trick. Go back into Layer 0 and make sure it's unlocked. Now go into the toolbar and press on the Magic Wand tool, which should look like a magic wand. So you can actually press the outline and select everything that is the same color that you selected. Let's Command-C to copy this and Command-V to paste it into a new layer. So as you can see, if I turn this layer invisible, the outline is still there. We can actually name this outline. We can go into the lock icon and say Lock Transparent Pixels, which means that anything you paint over will stay in this outline. So let's press I and grab this color, and let's press B to get into our brush tool, and let's try painting over it. So by locking the transparent pixels, it means that you can't paint outside of the pixels that already exist on this layer. This is a very useful tool if you just want to change the color of an illustration that you already have. I think I actually like the dark blue color for this outline, so I'm going to press the eyedropper tool, I, and click the dark blue color. And I'm going to press press B to get into my brush mode. I'm going to increase the size of my brush so I can cover a larger area and brush this outline blue. Another handy thing you can do with the magic wand tool is you can go in to different spaces. You can press Shift and select the spaces that you want the same color. So I have this whole leaf selected. I'm going to create a new layer, and with that still selected, I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to press I and select this color, and then press B and paint this leaf. And I'm going to do the same thing, but select stripes instead. So I'm going to go into the outline and press W and Shift and click the stripes I want. So here you'll notice that some parts of the leaves are colored, but some of the outlines are also colored, which wasn't my intention. That was because when I was selecting the parts of the leaf to color, I accidentally also clicked the outline. So actually on this layer, you can see that the yellow got to the leaves, but it also got to the outline of the leaves. So what if I actually wanted only the parts on the leaf to be yellow, but I want the outline to be blue? Well, that's okay, because our original outline is on a layer of its own, the blue outline. So we can actually drag this original outline upwards on top of the yellow layer, and so you'll see the blue outline on top of the yellow outline, and so it looks blue. This was actually an accident too, with the teal outlining the leaves, but I kind of like that effect, so I'll just leave it here. Now I'll just repeat what I was doing and finish coloring this drawing, and I think it will be done. Great, so I have the colors that I want now, and now I'm just going to make the blue outline appear on top because I think I like it better that way. So I'm going to go into the Layers panel, and I'm going to click on the outline and drag it upwards. Great. So now that you have your piece ready, you can actually click the colors. You don't want to show that. And as always, you should save your project. So click Command S, and I'm going to save it into a digital tutorial. Save. And now you can export it as a PNG. So if I go into the digital tutorial folder, here is my final result. I hope you like this tutorial. For future steps, you can always go to Skillshare for similar videos like mine. Terms you can search for can be illustration or painting in Photoshop. Thanks, and have fun painting!